So Tyreek Hill, your
What's
thoughts?
going on? What's going on with Tyreek Hill and
Your
Noah
thoughts.
Lyles?
I'm not even going to dignify it by saying the question. Your thoughts.
Oh, okay, so I have a maybe this is unconventional in terms of like thought process. I can care less about this. I actually could care less about Tyreek Hill running in track and field. And I actually think it's bad for track and field. I actually think this whole our like entertainment and our interest in the idea of like Tyreek Hill or any football player or any like I don't know soccer player like doing these races, I actually don't think it's a good thing for track and field. I'll entertain it. Obviously, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch whatever, right? I'm a track fan, but I think that I partly think that it muddies the waters a little bit because it's almost like Tyreek Hill is toying with the track and field world. He's almost like exposing how easy it is to like dip in and get the track and field world interested in anything. Because it's like he's making money, he's doing his thing, and he's like, oh yeah, let me send a little tweet to Noah Lyles or to the track and field world. I can beat Noah Lyles, and then let the entire track and field world have fun. If Noah Lyles or anyone else does something like that to the NFL, they're like, yeah, okay, like what was that? Like, I think it doesn't make the track and field world look good. Again, I'll watch if they race, but I don't know. I personally don't care. But that I'll pause there for a second, and I'm curious what you think.
Well, I'm gonna address what you said, and then because like I actually agree with what you're saying, but there's more to the story. I believe, at least more that I got. At least make sure like make let other people know I'm aware. There's more to the story. So one, the sport doesn't need this, and I've had conversations with the community, but I mean the track community. I was at Tom Jones had a wonderful conversation with a gentleman, and he brought up some ideas that actually were similar to this, saying that the sport needs a little bit more juice. And what I would say is we don't need dog and pony shows. We don't need side tricks because track and field is a very real sport. Again, it's called an Olympic sport, but it's not. It's a group three Olympic sport. There are three types. Group one, the sports that actually are professional sports and everybody knows it, so much so that with the Olympics is just a thing that people do because winning the Grand Slams in tennis or winning an NBA title or whatever, like that means more. Winning the Premier League, winning the World Cup for that matter, matters more than what you're doing in the Olympics. For the record, Olympic soccer for the men, they didn't even send the real men. They sent like under 23 or something. Like the real men didn't even go. So I'm just being real. So all that, like, I mean, like the grown men, like the main national teams. So then you get the group two, the sports that nobody cares about, kayaking, canoe slalom, people think it's the same thing. It's not. Pistol shooting, skeet shooting, not the same thing. Um, am I right? Like breakdancing. Like nobody want
I
to
mean,
watch this ever. And then like these are not things. And then you have actual like the group three sports, gymnastics, swimming, and track. And I'm gonna argue that track is actually the hardest of those three in terms of the other two have barriers to entry. You can't be a gymnast. You can't decide you're a gymnast at 15. That you got to come up in that culture. They have amazing gifting. However, that barrier to entry is what cuts down who could ever compete in it. Swimming, a lot of people can't swim. So we've already have a barrier to entry where you can't just show up in high school and be like, I'll join a swim team. You can't swim. Anybody can run in theory. In theory, if you have legs and they work, you can try track and field. So for that reason, track and field is like the most competitive of those three in terms of the amount of people in the machine and then what it means to be an Olympian. And we fully fund it, sort of kind of, at the college level through the NCAA, like it's a real sport. So as a result of everything I just said, we don't need dog and pony shows. And we sure enough don't need us running against athletes who aren't, like this is not their sport. I remember being in college having conversations with football players, and there are some fast football players, but I will say this: it is very disrespectful to assume that you can run faster than somebody who only runs in straight lines. That's what they do. That's their sport. I'm like, I was recruited here to run in a straight line. And for the record, we did have football players who, again, could be fast, but some of them, when they did join the team, they found out they wasn't as fast as they thought they were. And the results on TFRS will prove it. So all that. So I'll pause there, but like you do realize though, and I'm pitching this to you, like Tyreek Hill ain't just any football player.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
That's the
he's
real conversation. He's not just anyone.
he is. He's very, very he's different. He's not just some regular scrub, football player. Um, so I think there's like short-term, I don't know, gain that track and field gets from the idea that, okay, you're bringing Tyreek Hill along with one of the literally the fastest man in the world, right? Olympic champion, Noah Lyles, they're going to clash over whatever distance. I don't know,
30 meters.
50, 30 meters or whatever, which also is like,
Yeah.
okay, but
Yeah, I think that's what Rod and Justin were talking about on Ready Said Go. They said like maybe
yeah,
he should go 30 meters, which isn't a race.
which
That's
isn't a
that's
race. It's
like
like,
tripping and falling.
yeah. So there's like the short term, like, okay, wow, this is happening in track and field, and we get to see Noah, we get to see Tyreek, and regardless of who wins, it brings in some great eyes. But then are those fans aren't sticking around, especially if it's a 30-meter race. That's not what Noah Lyles runs. That's not
That's a
what he's good
TikTok.
at. That exactly. That's a TikTok. And it's like, come on. That's not going to keep fans around. If the goal is to grow track and field, or is the goal to have just this one time thing that lives on for a day and then next week we're on to the next thing, because we did this before, not this before, but like DK Metcalf has come into track. It was a very different situation where he ran that one race and he was also very respectful of the track world, but I don't know, that didn't, I don't think that brought in massive
Well,
eyes into the
well, it brought
track,
massive vibes to that race.
to that one race.
Meaning like DK Metcalf being in the back of a pro track race without any of the heavy hitters, but like still fast men. That race was very well watched online. Like people streamed that race. And he was the narrative. It didn't really matter who won. What mattered was that he was there on the track. Um, if Tyreek Hill would respect the track community enough to show up in a real track race, y'all want to put him in Melrose? Fine. Get the boy a lane. And let me rephrase that. Give the man a lane. Like, like, like that. Like I'm not tripping on that. It's just the spectacle of doing something that's not real track and field. I think it's like, what is the point that we're trying to prove? But let's go here. I said it in a video a while ago. Tyreek Hill is not just any football player because he's one of the few men who hmm, people are gonna get mad at me for saying this. I'm gonna say it anyway. I don't know how to stop. So here we go. Tyreek Hill is delusional, but his delusionality as an athlete is why he is Tyreek Hill. What I'm trying to say is he's almost like to some degree Noah Lyles is delusional too.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean, and I mean this with, and I know it's a rude word, but I'm saying it in a positive way. Meaning you can't get that far in athletics without believing you're untouchable. You don't win as much as they win. You don't do as much as they do without thinking you are the guy. And guess what? When I say the delusional, it's because for the most part, they thought they could do it, the thing that every kid wanted to do, and went out there and actually did it. And I'm gonna even say the quiet part out loud again. People might get mad at me. They have so much natural ability. Noah and Tyreek Hill both are generational talents. That's what they are. And because Tyreek Hill is a track athlete, is one of the few people who, for the most part, if he had chose a different career path, probably could be going toe to toe with Noah today
Yeah.
because he really was that good at the high school level. And his
Yeah.
form is broken. I'm just being honest. It's kind of broken to the
Yeah.
point where a great coach with him fully committed, I do expect that that man would have a chance to be mixing it up with Christian Coleman and them right now. But he did choose a different path. So what I'm saying is when you're a generational talent like that, where you've just always been on another level, like Tyreek Hill was one of the fastest sprinters you were ever going to find. He probably have been, if we were doing FCA recruiting rankings for that year, he'd easily have been number one or number two sprinter in the nation. Like from what
Yeah.
his report was.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why I think he's not just any football player. But the thing is, he always did track as a side hustle. He
Yeah.
never did it as the main. So he don't understand that like The reason Noah's running 6.4s in the 60 and 9.7 is because the talent it takes for you to run a windy 10-0 is not the same talent that you have to refine and chip away at to do 9.7 and to do the 6.4s. And for that reason, I'm like, it's a very unique situation where I don't just dismiss it as a football player. But like, I do believe that, and I'll close it on what I'm really trying to get at is it's an interesting discussion because I don't really see it just as a spectacle. I see it as like, is being an Olympic caliber athlete about your ability or is it about the work? And I think what we're saying is it's clearly about the work. Clearly. Like you might win
Yeah.
a conference championship in D1 somewhere walking off of the football field because you're just that guy.
Yeah.
Like that could happen if you really were that talented. But it's not going to get you all the way to this level,
Yeah.
which is the level Noah is on right now.
Exactly. Exactly. And Noah is a perfect example of actually the work. We've seen the years of work that he's put in, like since he was a youth, whenever he won World Youth in 100 or World Juniors, whichever one, but
Yeah, World
like
Junior, yeah.
World Juniors, right? He's put in the work to get to this point where it's like, okay, I'm the Olympic 100-meter champion by literally a hair. That's not, you don't just wake up and do that. So that's why I'm like so mixed on it because I feel like Tyreek Hill, at least in the way that he's speaking about the track and field world, it's like, yeah, y'all do that. Like, that's nothing. I can take y'all down in whatever I want. So that's why I feel like it's a little, and I feel like the track and field world is almost feeding into it a little bit because we're like talking back and saying like, no, you're crazy. You don't understand like this, that, whatever. And we're like, yeah, come race us. Like, it almost like to a degree devalues the quality that you're speaking of, the work that it takes to actually be an Olympic level sprinter. And he goes out, what was it last year? He goes out and runs at that Masters meet
Six
in the
seven,
16.
6.7, yeah.
Yeah, 6'7" in the mat. It's like, come on, you have the talent. You are a very, very talented athlete. You had a career in track, whatever it was through high school and then a little bit in the
Um,
NCAA.
yeah. He made NCAA finals though in indoor too.
Yeah, he did. I think he got top five. He might have got third or fourth place
No,
in
it
the.
wasn't a medal. I did a video on it, so
Okay,
I'm pretty sure there was no medal. I
maybe
mean, I feel
he
like I
he
would
got
have
he got All
figured
American
that.
though. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah,
got.
but that's just everybody who made the final.
Well, but I mean that's what I mean. Like he has at least some level of talent, but right now the way that he speaks, it's like I'm going to take down the Olympic gold medalist. Like, come on, come on. Like that's why I feel again as a track fan, I almost feel slightly disrespected because it takes away from the quality that these athletes actually put in, the work that they actually put in our sport,
But
and it
who's
makes it seem
yeah.
like less of a sport.
But that's the reason why we need the grand slams and everything to actually be effective. And again, I'm still going to be the crazy guy who says until we can communicate that track and field isn't just about, there's several things that make track and field a sport and make it not running fast, which is what people
Mm-hmm.
who are watching the Olympics casually don't understand. But then again, I think that's the case even when people watch the NBA, like they think they're playing basketball. I'm like, nah, they're not just playing basketball. This is a job. And that means the job might be to play, 3 and D, in specific situations and to guard this guy in the perimeter and shade him like there's specific things. So like track is just like that, where it's about running fast, but specifically running fast in the one race that you actually need to run, and then being able to run fast and then run fast again. It's called running rounds.
Yeah.
And at the college level, some people get mad at it for this because if you think of the Olympics at the pinnacle, then this looks like a problem to you. It's about being able to add value above replacement for your team or your program, which means great, you can run the one. Can you run the two? Great, you can run the two. But if I need you on a 4x4, can I use you? Okay, great, you can do that too. If I need a long jump, can you give me 26 feet? You see how it becomes a sport? Tyreek Hill ain't got
Mm-hmm.
no prayer of doing that. Like you see what I'm saying? But Matthew Bowling can.
Yeah.
But Matthew Bowling wasn't at the games. You see what I'm saying? So like you see again, you see how when you lose the infrastructure, Bowling become the guy who, what's wrong with him? He ain't make it to the games. What are you talking about? He's one of the greatest track and field athletes that we have, technically, if you just change the scoring system.
Yeah.
And for what he was recruited to do, he was amazing. When you bring him to this world, where now he just has to like top out in any specific event, and he was still at the Olympic trials finals in the four, but like, so I think that's where Tyreek Hill even has a leg to stand on. Like we gave him that platform, for lack of a better term, by allowing the sport to be trivialized into people thinking that we just run fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true.
So it's
I
like
mean,
it's yeah.
yeah.
Some of it is our
It
fault.
it's
And by our fault, and I don't take credit for it. Some of it is like the people who set this up and the fact that it hasn't been changed yet.
yeah. I mean, okay, so I don't know if you want to say, but like, is there a distance? Like, let's say hypothetically, Tyreek Hill, Noah Lyles, they race over, let's say 60 meters. No, not let's not say 60. Let's say they race over 40 meters or the 40-yard dash. Do we think Noah Lyles takes down Tyreek Hill in a 40-yard dash?
Um, I'm gonna still say yes, but here's the thing. I would say if you're gonna do a challenge, if you want it to be a challenge, then you got to meet in the middle. So you 40-yard dash is the standard football test of speed, right? That's what they do. And the 100 is the standard track and field test of speed. The only problem is we can't meet in the middle because if we do, we know he's still getting toasted.
Of course.
You follow? You see? Like we that's why we can't do that. So as a result, now we got to meet in between a 60 and a 40, which isn't really a race.
Yeah. I
Because the
mean,
40-yard dash isn't a race. It's a
exactly.
timed event off of movement. It's not a race.
Yeah.
So like you would visually be struggling to figure out whoever won if you ran
Yeah.
40s with even the fastest NFL players and lined them up. Like you would visually struggle to ever like perceive it as a race because it'd be over so fast and at the line you wouldn't be able to tell yet.
Yeah.
Like shoot,
I
if we
mean,
was running 40s, then I think I'd have a shot at perhaps being right up there with some of the best in NCAA. The problem with that to keep running. Like through 30, I could rock.
yeah.
My
I
issue was
mean,
get by 40 to 60. That was where I was starting to get cooked.
that second half. I actually think in a 40-yard dash, I actually think Noah would still probably beat Tyreek Hill because of what you said. This isn't like, 3-point stance and like the specifics that you're doing in the combine. Noah Lyles knows how to get out of blocks, right? As relative to some of the other guys, his block starts aren't great. But if you're talking about versus Tyreek Hill, who I don't know, like he's not a track athlete. I think Noah would be able to execute pretty well in a 40-yard dash. I actually think you'd have to take it down to 30 meters or whatever, they were talking about for Tyreek to really be like, okay, I beat out Noah.
Yeah, I mean, no, Tyreek Hill. I will say this: Tyreek. Because here's the thing: Tyreek Hill now is not as fast as he once was. I don't believe that. Again, I think
Yeah.
that's what the 6'7" showed us. Granted, it was just one race, but like, I mean, Noah ain't never ran 6'7" in the last how many years now? Am I right?
Yeah.
Like that's just
Yeah.
not. You see what I'm saying? Like that's not even in the realm of time that he would ever run in a 60-meter dash.
Yeah.
So for that reason, so I mean, hey, we ain't even got to give it more. We ain't even got to give it more breath. Like at the end of the day, a man threw out a challenge. He's a very special man. He is. I'm not discrediting that he's a very unique athlete. What I'm saying is the situation at hand. Come on, bro. Let's be honest.
It's different. It's
And he know
different.
that. I think this thing got further than he ever thought it would. I
I
really believe
mean,
that. I think he's kind of like laughing, like, yo, they took me seriously.
if they race, I mean, it looks like it might actually happen. Who knows? Who knows? It might come to fruition in 2025. You might actually
Hey,
see it.
Tyreek Hill for LA 2028. Tyreek Hill for
Hey,
LA.
hey. I don't know. We gonna see. We gonna see. Maybe he switches back into the track and field world.
My name is Anderson from The Final Leg.
And I'm Coach Rob from SCA Track and Field. And thank you for watching this segment from The Finish Line.
If you want to know what's really going on at the high school and college level, be sure to subscribe to Coach Rob Track and Field.
And if you want more content on the best track and field athletes in the world, be sure to subscribe to The Final Leg.